All right, my peoples, thank you all for joining me today. Okay, let's get into this video as relates to Kenya. This is week 4 of the revolution that's going on in Kenya. It is no longer for me and to many people who understand what's going on. It's no longer a protest or a chaos. We're calling what's going on in Kenya a revolution, the cry out of Kenyans against corruption, against a government that has really led their people astray and led them to the wrong path. This is week 4 of that going on. And it's in the face of Ruto doing everything but the one thing that the people are asking for. I want you to take a look at the current crisis in Kenya and the revolution going on in Kenya as relates to the protesters, the Gen Zs. Take a listen to their cries on the streets, and I'll be right back.
Mr. President, umetoka kwa magunia haitoshi. Ukitaka tuwe wote, I'm willing to die bana for my country. Ini tattoo nilichora ya made in Kenya, how I love my country and I'll fight for my country for anything. Sisi ni wajukuu wa Maumau bana, and we are going to fight for this land. Ini yetu.
Ruto is very much incompetent. He has no leadership skills. He just wanted the title to be the president of this country. After sending to, we know like the guy is a puppet to IMF. That is it. Whatever he's doing for IMF. He's not leading this country at all. He's not leading this country at all.
This is our land. We are dying here. We get justice or we die here. And the irreversible minimum is either the president abide by what the people are telling him. We gave him that power. It is time for him to abide by what we are telling him, or we demand IMF to come and carry their own puppet.
Okay, so we've got a lot to discuss today, because in this video we're going to be focusing on the new, I guess, statement made by Ruto, which is now that he is now accusing U.S.-funded Ford Foundation of stoking and sponsoring the anarchy in this country. So the question we're going to try to answer on this podcast is he right, or is Ruto deflecting? Okay, is he right that the Ford Foundation, U.S.-backed corporation, philanthropist, right, are they involved in stoking or funding these, what we call the revolution, right? You see, with black people, this is a revolution. With everybody else that's reporting nonsense about this, they're calling it chaos and calling it protest and calling it, a whole bunch of, they're demonizing this Gen Zs. But for us who are Pan-Africans, we understand what's going on. For us who are Africans, we understand that this is no longer the protest. It started up as a protest, protesting the tax bill, finance bill 2024, right? But it has evolved from that. It's now a revolution. The people are crying, right? They want corruption to be done in their country. They want their government to stop lying to them. They want a new, fresh government. They need a government that will look out for them, for their own interests, right? They're finally voicing out what they have been having suppressed in them for years, right? And has been taken advantage of, right? And by all these corrupt leaders. So this is a revolution of the Kenyans, okay? Right. So the question we're going to be asking is Ruto right, President William Ruto right, that the Ford Foundation, right, is the Americans' fault? This is basically what he's saying. Americans. I want to talk about this because I think the tone and what I see him trying to do is he's trying to now take a stand against the one thing people accuse him of, which is that he's a Western puppet. I see him trying to take a different approach to seem to his people that he's not the Western puppet that many people think he is, by pointing a finger, right, at a U.S. based organization to seem to be on the side of Pan-Africanism and that he's really not what the echo on the streets are calling him to be. So we're going to have a good conversation about this. We really are. Before we do, first things first, I want to give a shout out to at Henry5118 for your 11.99 pound super chat on my last video. I truly appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And please, everyone, please keep the super chat coming. As you do, I'll give you a shout out. So to you, my man, thank you so much, and God bless you. Okay, so let's get into this video. Now, how did we get here? How did we get to this point where Ruto now is pointing hands at the Americans? It's the Americans' fault. Where the likes of Ford Foundation, a philanthropist who has been in Kenya since 1963. They've had a presence since 1963. You've got all these Western foundations all over the place. See, my question is like, why would they always in Africa, right? You have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You have the Ford Foundation. You've got quite all the other ones too. They're always there. These are the ones that poke their nose and stuff. But anyway, these ones have been in Kenya for a long time. And so William Ruto is pointing hands at them and saying that they are the ones that are backing this, right? Okay. So how did we get here? Well, we got here with Ruto trying to end the civil unrest in this country. First, it was the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024, which is the tax bill, the tax hike bill, which sparked this whole thing. Okay, Kenyans were having it, so he withdrew that one. That did not stop the whole thing. Okay, it evolved from people not wanting that bill to be passed to now people calling for him to resign and him to be gone. Okay, so the hashtag Ruto must go began right after that bill was withdrawn, because the voice and the crowd on the streets is that he is the foundation to the problems that Kenyans are having. Remember, guys, that William Ruto used to be a deputy president for the previous administration. So a lot of people see him as someone who is part of the problem and not a solution to the problem, which is why the hashtag Ruto must go began immediately after that tax bill. People see him making the wrong moves, in addition to all the lavish spending, corruption that really came with his administration. So that didn't work. He then goes to the Twitter spaces to try to engage Gen Zs, to try to dialogue with them, right? That didn't work. People saw immediately right after that bill was withdrawn, and while he was sitting with them, people saw the adoption of a lot of people in the middle of the night. People were getting adopted, snatched up, kidnapped in vans, unmarked cars. He went on the Twitter space to try to clarify that was not an adoption. It was people being arrested, but people like, nah, voices that did not do anything. People that were not part of the protest, people that were innocent bystanders came out and say they were snatched up in front of their families. So that case really fueled a new type of revolution, okay? Where the people got on the streets and even got even more angered, right? Because on one hand, they're seeing him telling them he's going to do something about it, and then secretly they're seeing people getting snatched up in the middle of the night. People were like, hold on a second. So people started accusing him of being a liar. There's a man that doesn't stand on his words. He's a man that doesn't stand on principle. He says one thing and does another. So that fueled another protest. Okay, on top of the hashtag Ruto must go. And then right after that, that didn't help or solve the issues of the protests on the streets. He decides that, okay, you know what, let me go ahead and blame other people. Let me try to fire all my cabinet members. Maybe perhaps this will show the people that I'm doing something about it, right? I'm trying to get rid of all the fat in my organization, the toxic fat in my organization. So he fired all his cabinet members, right? Came out last week and announced it. Now, remember I said that the hashtag Ruto must go started trending right after the bill was withdrawn. Well, he pretended he didn't hear that part. He pretended, you know what, no, that's not what they're really saying. They really want me to fire these people. So he fired all his cabinet members and then began a series of dialogue with the people of Kenya to try to move in a different direction. He proposed that he's going to broaden the government. He's going to select a new set of individuals to his cabinet, people that are going to do the right thing. Again, while saying all of this, people were getting adopted in the middle of the night while all this is happening. The protest was still going on. And then the real thing that broke the camel's back was when people saw that even while they were trying to dialogue with him, they were trying to get to a consensus, the real issues of their problem wasn't really being addressed in terms of the way of life of Kenyans, opportunities provided for Kenyans. People weren't really seeing the authenticity with him. They really weren't seeing it. And so a lot of people felt that, you know what, this man isn't going to be able to solve the issues or bring solution to the country like he is claiming he is going to. So we just want him out of there. And so now the protest has begun fueling up again to where we're in week 4, excuse me. So Ruto now, his new way of solving or seeming to attack this whole thing or address this whole thing is to blame the Americans. It's the Ford Foundation. So here's Ruto accusing the Ford Foundation of this. Take a listen to this.
We have no use for anarchy and violence and destruction of property and loss of life. Wale ambao wanasponsor hiyo violence, sisi tunawajua. And I want to call out those who are behind the anarchy in Kenya, those who are behind the sponsoring the chaos in the Republic of Kenya. Shame on them, because they are sponsoring violence against our democratic nation. Mimi nataka niulize watu wa Ford Foundation, watuambie hiyo pesa wanatoa ifanye fujo ndio wapate faida gani? We are going to call them out and we are going to tell them, if they are not interested in democracy in Kenya, if they are going to sponsor violence, if they are going to sponsor anarchy, we are going to call them out and we are going to tell them they either style up or they leave.
Okay. So, naturally, as you would expect, the Ford Foundation came out and denied all of this, denied having any involvement in all of this, basically calling William Ruto a liar. So they released a statement. It says, "We do not fund or sponsor the recent protests against the finance bill and have a strict nonpartisan policy for all of our grant making." That's what they said. Now, do we believe them or do we believe Ruto? See, I personally, I don't believe either one of them. Definitely, I don't believe a U.S. funded organization like the Ford Foundation. This will be the first time, right? This will be the first time a billionaire organization has sponsored or fueled protests with black people. This will be the first time. In the United States, George Soros funded and took advantage of black people and their pain with the Black Lives Matter protest. A legitimate move that started very legitimately, which was the injustice against black men being killed at the hands of white police officers. A very noble cause, jumped into it, stoked that whole thing, to where it evolved from a very noble and just cause to what it became destruction of communities and properties, to where now it's a looting of money, and the founders of Black Lives Matter are the most shameful people anyone can talk about today, because they stole from their communities. Donations that went to them to help the cause of the community never went to the communities, right? But that whole thing was taken advantage of by George Soros, a philanthropist in the United States, right? So this will be the first time, which is why I don't believe that they didn't have anything to do with it, but we can't prove it. Do I believe Ruto? No, I don't believe Ruto either. Because at this point, like I said, Ruto is trying to do a lot of things to save his job. He's pointing fingers at other people rather than at himself, firing his cabinet members, talking about these are the ones that are doing it. I'll be more likely to believe Ruto. Here's what I think he could have done, should do. Because all he's doing right now is deflecting. That's what he's doing. I'll be more inclined to believe him, to believe that this man really wants to do something. If he withdrew the police force and gave the money back to the United States, that to me will show a man who has realized the errors of his ways. Yesterday, a new cohort of Kenyan police arrived in Haiti amid all of the protests going on in his country, all of the chaos that's happening in his country. He's got issues in his hands. He splits his own police force that should be there handling the situation and bringing civil order in his country. He still splits his own police force and sends them to Haiti because he took the money. He took the money from the United States. Do you understand what I'm saying? He's trying to go solve issues in another country, which he has no business in being in, rather than just become a puppet to the West, which is what people are accusing him of. He's a puppet to the IMF, he's a puppet to the West. Rather than really realign his priorities, right? And say, you know what? It was a mistake. We got issues in my country. I got to deal with the issues in my country. Mr. President, please take back your money, right? Don't want it. And call back his police force so they can go help the situation in his country. I think if he did that, I think he would seem to be someone who really cares about his people than all the stuff he's doing. That's my own opinion. But for a man and a president to still send people out there to Haiti to go police what's going on in Haiti when his own country is in total chaos. He's a president that is out of touch. And these are the things that people are saying. They're saying this man doesn't understand. He's totally clueless. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's dancing around the real issue here, which is why the Gen Zs in Kenya are saying you must go. And you can understand why they would say that. Because if you had a leader whom you voted in and you placed in a position to make decisions in your interest, right decisions, we also understand that they're human. They're not always going to make the right decisions 100% of the time. But you expect that more so than none, they're making decisions that benefit you. They're trying to do the right thing. When you see a leader whose priority is out of place, to where he's having issues in his country and he's splitting his police force to go to another country to go fight their battle while he's got issues because he took money from the West, you don't believe whatever comes out of his mouth. You don't. So I think rather than pass the blame on others and say, hey, is this person's fault? These are the ones that is causing it. He needs to point to himself, which is what people are saying. You are the problem. And unless he realizes that and understands that he is the problem, he's not going to have this issue solved in his country. He's not. Because the Gen Zs are not looking like they're going to let out anytime soon. We are in 4th week of this. And it doesn't seem like this president is addressing the real issue. And the real issue is him. They want him out of there. Now, according to the Constitution, he will have to be the one to resign. You can't force him out of office. He was democratically elected. Unless he voluntarily resigns, he's going to be in office. So at what cost at this point? At what cost? Of course, We can all see the cost because his country is getting destroyed every day. Properties, businesses. Not to mention it's deterring any investments that were probably trying to go to that country as a result of this. It's cutting the money supply. So there's a huge economic implication that this is causing. Not to mention the security implication. Lives being lost. According to the data by Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, 39 people have been killed as a result since this whole thing started. 361 wounded since this whole thing has started. So lives are being lost here. So he's going to have to decide, is he bigger than the country? Because I think that what he's doing and all the stuff he's doing, I commend him for the actions that he's taken so far. We got to give him some credit. Trying to engage the Gen Zs on Twitter. You know, reshuffling the house. I get that. But this doesn't seem to solve the civil unrest. People are not buying it because they see him as a problem. And so he's going to have to decide the ultimate sacrifice. Is he worth the country or worth his position? Because black people have gotten to a point in this country, and I would even dare say black people around the world have gotten to a point where they're just tired. Black people have gotten to a point where they're just tired. You're seeing a lot of black people push back at different levels. Nigeria did that with the NSARS a couple of years ago. Protest. It was huge. You're seeing Ghanaians also demonstrate against their president with the economic situation. South Africans are fed up of the situation in their country. Kenyans. You're seeing a lot of this as it relates to the citizens of countries protesting against the injustice of their government. Because black people are tired. So I pray for the people of Kenya, and I pray that the government responds to them the way they are hoping to be engaged with. And I hope that at the end of the day, we all can look at this story and say, you know what? It ended. We don't like the loss of life, but it has finally ended to where the people of Kenya got what they're looking for. They got the resolution they're looking for. They got the peace they're looking for. And the country is healing and rebuilding again like it should be. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Please like the video, share the content, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.
Information and safety.